You're listening to JW Raw with Eminem.
We have with us the world famous social media king, Dr. Beau from Elite OSM.
So is he famous for social media or he's famous for being a doctor? So
either one.
Clarify.
He's famous for everything. He's famous for both.
Possibly infamous.
He's been around.
Not as infamous as Mark.
Yeah.
No, come on, let's not go there.
It's a privilege to be on the world's most hated photographer.
I'm just getting over that. Now
How
you gotta,
funny is that?
you gotta.
You'll never get over it, son.
No, you just gotta own it.
just live it.
You're gonna be a heel, not a baby face. That's how it's gotta go.
Can you teach me how to use my social media to my advantage then, so I get the haters off me, the trolls?
No, you just gotta own it and fire back at them.
Just start arguing with everyone.
Yeah, just go savage on them.
Speaking of social media, yours is on point.
Is it?
We love it.
You enjoy it?
It is funny.
121,000 followers. I mean, that's awesome.
Yeah, but
that's
even
baller.
that, it's a lot of engagement. Like he gets a lot of engagement. People talking.
Yeah, people like the cracking videos.
Yeah,
It's very interesting to
It's
me.
gone viral.
Which is funny because like we don't really adjust that many people.
people
maybe,
love
like,
crack in general.
Yeah, yeah, right. They're crack addicts.
They love things that scare you because like Misha, for example, is scared of it. He won't do it
Yeah.
because he thinks it could kill him or something. I don't know.
Because Joe Rogan at one point did that thing about chiropractors and cracking heads, and then I went up, cracking necks. I mean, I went up and looked up about that girl, that model or something that died. Kind of freaked me out a little bit.
Yeah,
It kind of feels weird when you do it because it's just like you know cranking the neck, man.
sure. Well, it's got its appropriate value, so you have to make sure you identify the right patient population, and when you apply it to the right patients and you scan them and screen them, you're gonna end up in the right spot.
When you crack it, what actually happens to you? Like, what's making that noise? Like, what can go wrong when you're getting cracked?
What can go wrong? Well, they say there's about a 1 in 1.5 million chance of.
And that's the one that I'm afraid to be. I don't
one in 1.5 million. Can you?
That would be like
those
me.
are
I
numbers
always
you can't
think about
fathom,
what if
though.
I'm like of the one.
So you have a 1 in 33 chance of getting a stroke during a non-cardiac surgery, any kind of procedure at all. That's a non-cardiac surgery. So you have a 1 in 33 chance of any kind of surgical procedure of having a stroke or a heart attack. About a 1 in 600 chance of dying from a car accident in your life. So I mean, it's minuscule. And when you look at the surveys, like they publish it in the literature, but they don't actually. It's not really science. They don't control the variables. So the one in Ontario, for example, they had there was 532 cases of vertebral artery dissection. 9 of them had seen a chiropractor. So they went on to associate chiropractic with this, but nobody ever investigated what the other 520 something were caused by, which we think is coughing, turning your head, sneezing. Those could all cause vertebral artery dissection.
Man, Dr. Beau with his fancy words, man. He's a freaking walking encyclopedia, I call him, man. And his Instagram, you know what's funny when he posts those nasty videos of rotten bodies or like body parts.
C-section.
That's the weird stuff. Like, Beau, man, I didn't want to see that.
Yeah, you got to learn, man. You got to learn.
Oh, that's pretty entertaining. It's get people engaged too.
So,
like,
and by the way, like grappling has about the same incidence of stroke risk as getting your hair washed, changing lanes, or getting manipulation. So
I'm sure everyone has their own risks.
Well,
and,
and what we really think is going on with all these people is that they have a predisposition, some sort of genetic abnormality that puts them at risk for it. They have a weakness in their vertebral arteries. So somebody with Ehlers-Danzer's disease or some other connective tissue disorder. And so that can be problematic. And the problem is with chiropractors is sometimes they're not really screening their patients. And so one of the main symptoms of somebody presenting with a vertebral artery dissection, for example, is neck pain and a headache. So if you didn't scan them and screen them, then you went ahead and treated somebody that maybe already has a clot. You could free that, and that's one of the reasons why you're supposed to do a thorough examination on everybody. And one of the reasons we talked about that too, like people always, it's funny, people are like, that's dangerous for fighters, and I said it's more dangerous than getting punched in the head or kicked.
Yeah.
What's more force in your head, somebody torquing on you with a guillotine choke, or a very minuscule motion, which we don't do any rotation anyway. So the fact that somebody's capable of taking the resistance to forces during grappling means that their vertebral arteries and all their arteries are probably very strong. So it's the person that has never done that before, never grappled, never done anything to stress their system, which is the scarier one because you don't know how tough they are.
Yeah, I've had my neck yanked gazillion times. Yeah, that's for sure.
And you can Google it too. There's been a lot of people that have had
grappled
strokes.
with Diego Sanchez once. You'll know.
From grappling.
Yeah, getting slapped on the neck.
Yeah, he's thrown me in a guillotine before. Sometimes at Christmas parties and stuff, everybody gets a little frisky, and I quickly learn my place again.
See, he learned his place, son.
Dang.
Know your role.
Know your role,
Know
son.
your
Shots
role.
fired.
Hey, I know my role.
What is your role?
He don't know his role.
Yeah,
He says he does, but he
I
doesn't.
have no purpose.
He has
I'm
no-
just here.
He's
Do
just,
any of us-
he's just a talking head for an hour.
Does any of it really matter?
It doesn't.
Yeah.
That's a crazy thought, right? Like in 100 years, none of us will exist. No one will remember hardly any of us.
Imagine that. That's what's like. What is this for? Like, what are we doing? Like, why are we even existing? Like,
We're just floating through the air, space
yeah,
dust, right?
exactly. We're like dust in the
Yeah.
wind, man. Literally,
so nobody-
literally.
Sing it.
So nobody's gonna care how many likes we had on social media.
No.
Fuck.
You know,
What like-
there's think about how few people in the
Oh.
history of the world that actually get remembered. Napoleon, Stalin, you know, mostly horrible people.
Yeah, I
Hitler,
know,
Mao.
right? Yeah, ask somebody
exactly.
like a good guy, man. Like
Yeah.
somebody's name.
A
is,
few, you'll get a
yeah,
Tesla
yeah,
or
Yeah.
yeah, there's some standouts.
Thomas Edison, and then some people get
Mark
like,
Twain.
yeah, right,
Some shit.
FDR or whatever. The funny thing is, though, is like you'll be dead, so you won't even know that people remember you. So it doesn't
There you
really
go.
doesn't even matter.
So you gotta do some stupid
Unless
bad
you come
shit.
back as a ghost.
Yeah,
Well,
right.
you
come
might-
back- I'm gonna come
you
back
might
as
be
a
remembered
ghost.
for that cyber thing, man. For the rest of
Well, yeah.
Hey,
It could happen.
turn it
I'm
into something.
down.
That's what you have to do. That's the thing that people.
That's why people chase being the bad guy these days
Hey.
more than anything,
Well,
because that's what gets people talking. Like
that's
McGregor,
the,
Colby Covington, all these dudes.
You've heard the old saying that any publicity is good publicity, and I disagree with that, of course, to a certain extent. And some of those people are finding that it's not really working that well for them.
Yeah.
Like Colby, he's not really famous, right? People hate him.
He's just a jerk.
People hate him in Brazil.
Yeah.
They hate him here.
You see what he posted about Rory McDonald? You saw that
No.
thing he did? Like Rory said about, like, I guess there was a post I saw yesterday. It was like a nice post about, like, I guess someone said Rory was like out and his leg was broken, his arm was broken, his hand was broken, and he tweeted something that no, it's not true, you know, everything this and that. And
Yeah.
Colby just came out with some nasty, mean shit, just like out of nowhere. They had no relations to the Twitter post whatsoever. Just like out of the blue, just.
Rory's a nice guy too.
I
I just
know.
thought it was hilarious that somebody hit somebody in the head with a boomerang. I was like, that's awesome right
It is-
there. Like,
Yeah, who uses boomerangs anymore as weapons? That's
that's
cool.
amazing.
Yeah, that is
It'd
cool.
be like if you frisbeed somebody, you just walk them, just throw a frisbee in their face, be like, what's up?
Yeah, but it was just
That'd be
in
amazing.
Australia.
Yeah.
because Verdun was agitated, obviously. You know, he was holding something in his hand, and
Hey.
he's just like, it's like one of those reactionary moments, obviously.
But it didn't come back.
He got rid of his souvenir boomerang. Wonder if he got it back.
Yeah, right. If it really came back,
Probably
are
paid
they
money
supposed to come
I'm
back?
sure it was evidence at the
He probably
court.
paid
Oh
money.
yeah, because he had to go to court for
Yeah,
it,
it's an
right?
evidence. This is a weapon.
So
it was
let's
used in
It's a
assault.
lethal weapon.
An
I think he
assault.
said that too.
let's back up. Let's back
Okay,
up
dude,
a little
cool.
bit. When what's your purpose here, at Jackson Wink? What do you do?
Shit.
My purpose is
Not
to
a lot.
fulfill my existential needs and vibe with the universe so that we are on the same frequency.
Existential needs. See, now that's.
I need to carry a dictionary with this man.
Yeah, see, you know that's not English isn't his first language. You can't
I
be
know,
using
right?
these words
Yeah.
around.
Is it your
him.
second language?
Yeah.
All right. You got a third?
No.
No? Two for two?
Two is enough.
He's being very humble. He actually fixes all our fighters and
Yeah.
many others that come off the street.
Which, by the
Well,
way, we had a perfect record last year.
I
No
was
injury
about to
pullouts.
say that.
So
Let
that was
me
pretty cool.
advertise that shit.
You can do it. No,
I'm not
I'm
serious.
blessed. We've got a really great team here. We've got two
Seriously,
physical
it was-
therapies. Dr. McDonald, Dr. Gamero, Greg Donadio is our business manager. Alicia Martinez is our director of orthopedic rehab. We have our rehab folks out here too.
He's not just a business manager. He's one of the top docs in there too. Greg.
He is.
And you just opened up a second location on the north part of town over
Yep.
at the Performance Ranch, right? Is that
The Performance on It Ranch, yeah, with Cowboy
Performance
and
on
Lawrence.
it?
and-
Get that on it in there. Yeah,
and
exactly.
yeah, hopefully a couple more. So, yeah, it's been a really cool relationship. I've been working with the gym for about 5 years now. And so, actually, in the last 3 years, I think we've only lost 3 fighters to actual injuries. Like, we've had a couple sicknesses and things like that, but that's not really in our scope of practice. We had Michelle broke her hand twice, and then we had BJ with his rib thing, which he didn't really train here for that
he
camp.
He
Yeah,
came
that was
So, but we have to own it, right? Like, that's...
Yeah.
that's funny.
He,
yeah.
he represented.
Yeah, you'll have-
he
you'll
flew the
have-
flag for that fight. So
yeah,
Yeah,
you'll have
he-
like a
he had
fighter
Greg in
like
the
come
corner.
in for a week and stuff, and you know we're responsible for them just because it becomes a big news, like with Johnny Hendricks and stuff.
Yeah.
It's like he came in, trained for a week, then left for a week, came back, trained a little bit, and then boom,
yeah,
you know, lost the fight. He went against the killer, and you know, we're obviously
Yeah.
ultimately responsible.
and I think he'll be back too.
Yeah.
We're getting a lot of bad media for all that.
Well, you know, that's the
Because,
thing.
you know, people
you
go
guys are
around-
like the Yankees, right? It's or the
Yeah.
Lakers or something.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to see you fall and fail. That's
Yeah.
that's what's going to happen
And
when you
then-
create such a reputation for
And then we
yourselves.
rise. you
Well,
know.
and then you also have 2 coaches that avoid the limelight. You know, a lot of people like to get out there in the media and in the limelight, and Greg and Coach Week don't do that.
Yeah.
So
You know,
they
it's-
don't really get to defend themselves and you know get to put on the public persona that some of these other coaches get to.
And the same thing, like with people, you know, talking about records and things like that, that people don't realize, like how many fighters we have and how many different scenarios and situations that all these fighters have, in the way of, like, you know, they come here with their own corners. And some don't even use Greg and Wink, you know, some do, and then some Greg just appears there because he didn't even train him, and they just ask Greg and just, you know, I just need the aura, just be there. So because he has that possession. You know?
I think if I was a fighter, I'd want him, even if he didn't train me, just to talk me through it, keep me calm.
Because he has that effect on people. Weird, man. He same with me, man.
He's got mind control over Debo.
Mind control, yeah. So people don't realize that. Like, if they don't realize that, you know, we fight literally top 5, top 10. Never freaking, we're like 3, 4 fighters in the card sometimes, you know, and sometimes it's just, you know, we're not even involved in their camps.
Greg has that effect on people. I mean, it's funny. He'll just walk through the hall, and you having a bad day or whatever. You've got some bad news, and he'll be walking through his little. He's got that funky.
How about, like, for example, like with Derek Bronson right now? He hasn't trained here a couple camps, but he's still associated with our camp. So win or lose, people are gonna say, like, well, they're going to count it against us.
I think it's only if he loses. I think if he wins, people will try to say that he's not associated with it.
Oh, true.
I mean, they did that last time, right? He knocked out Machida in the last couple months, but nobody wants to include that on it. Or if they fought on it across the pond, right? Like, nobody wanted to include CR's win or Leach's win.
When you're as big as this camp, I mean, you obviously take, you know, roll with the punches nonstop. Yeah. So
and that comes to the territory.
Like any famous person, it's like this is a celebrity camp, as you would say, right? So
and
it's a numbers game. You could draw a Gaussian distribution, so like a normal curve.
And then, like, you said actually perfectly at one point about being an underdog. If you, like, dissect every fight into its own place in the history of how it all played out,
if you look at the fight odds.
Yeah, the fight and your odds and this and that and coaching and this and that, like, it all makes sense, you know. That we actually don't have as bad of a record, like for last years. People said
not even close.
Not even close.
And part of the problem is our fighters are such gangsters. They take fights where they're going to be massive underdogs, and they still go out there and let it roll.
Because they don't get paid, you know. Sometimes, and people think that, you know, we have control of the fights that they take. Most of the time we don't. They're their own entity. They own their own name, like Habu and stuff and stuff. We're not responsible.
Yeah, that's a fact that has to get out there.
Yeah, Greg will tell them, hey, maybe it's not a good fight for you, but ultimately Habu says, well, I won't get paid, so I take it. And then radio injuries, people don't look at that, like,
or people that just want to test themselves against anybody, like Holly. She doesn't care. She'll fight Cyborg, Ronda.
Holly's like in title fight after title fight after title fight, and all the closest fights ever. So how can you know, put it as a loss? Really, it's actually a victory.
Did you guys see Tara LaRosa's video where she grappled with that guy?
Yeah. I didn't watch the whole video; it was long, but I saw it was kind of like,
it's pretty interesting. She submitted him.
She did submit him?
Yeah, she submitted him.
Really?
She got him with an armbar.
Yeah.
Wow. It was this guy, and he was like, any untrained man could defeat a woman because they're much stronger. And, you know, he couldn't submit her, obviously, and he got tired, and she definitely put it on him. I thought it was pretty cool, actually.
What's her background? Jiu-jitsu or what?
Tara's a Tara's a very good grappler.
Yeah, she's an all-time great. I mean, she was ranked #1 in the world for many years in the late 2000s.
Yes, she was.
Wow.
She's a pioneer.
Yeah, she's one of the very first high-level women.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I remember when I first came to the camp, she was here.
Yeah, back when she was here, Julie Kedzie was here, you know, all those folks. And we've had a lot of retirements in the last few years.
Yeah.
Tim Kennedy, Kyle Noak.
Well, Kyle, I thought
is he coming back?
I thought he's coming back, but I don't know. That's just, every time you say someone's retired, they put out a statement.
BJ Penn, I'm out, I'm back, and then he's gone.
Joey.
Nobody wants to be a quitter. Nobody likes a quitter, so they just don't want to quit.
Well, it's interesting too, because in MMA, like, it's not like football. Like, you have to get signed by a team. So if you're older, you know, there's not a team that's going to take the opportunity, and they have to pay you a lot more for your name. But as a fighter, as long as you can win or be competitive, usually there's going to be somebody willing to pay you. So there's not a barrier to keep you out.
And I always say it's very hard for a veteran to walk away right now, because right now fighters are actually starting to make money. And all these years of freaking competing and this and that, they made the name for themselves. But they're so much older, they're not the same anymore. It's like win one, lose one, win one, lose one, win two, lose. So the same thing, you know, like that's why I think it's kind of, people need to look at it that way too, because, and not judge fighters, because everyone has to make a living.
Yeah.
Everyone, that's all. If you have like a fighter like Dan Henderson, you know, doing that for so long, and just now he can get $500,000 a fight. Would you walk away? No, you wouldn't.
Here's the other thing too that people don't realize is, like, this is their trade. This is the way they make a living. I know they idolize the fighters and they don't want to see their legacies ruined or take losses, but like, You know, a lot of these fighters, they're making $200,000, $300,000 a fight. What else could you possibly go out and do to earn that kind of money? It's the business world is not that easy, as some of our fighters are learning. You know, they're trying to start their own companies, and kudos on them for that. But
like if you like,
it's not easy to run a business.
Like Fedor, right? He's back in it, right? And I mean, I'm sure he's got plenty of money, but some maybe have the money, but they just the urge and just like going out on top or something, you know. He dropped some fights and stuff. Same thing. Sure. Like with legends, they always still believe till the end that they can come back and do what they used to do back in the day.
And that's an interesting thing from like a business perspective, that people they always want to look the part before they are the part. And that's one thing that I really did with my business is like I never took out a loan for it. I started with $1,000. I bought a used table and a desktop computer, and that was it. And I just worked by myself until I could afford another one. And then, you know, I started to recruit people. And so we never went into debt. We never felt like we had to you know, give inappropriate treatment or sign people up for more visits than they needed because we didn't have that financial expense. And that's one thing, that is one knock I will say on like a lot of chiropractors is like unnecessary care. When they sign people up for too many treatments, like how do you know up front that somebody's going to need 85 treatments? I mean, that doesn't make any kind of logical sense to me.
Yeah.
So it's interesting because I have two doctorates, right? I'm a naturopath and I'm a chiropractor as well. And I'm working on my third one now, PhD in health and human performance.
Mr. Show Off.
So, yeah. So I want to defend chiropractors in a lot of senses because a lot of the things that are said are completely inaccurate. But they make it harder on me as well because of some of the unethical behaviors that they do and unscientific thoughts. So people were like, do you recommend seeing a chiropractor? And I said I'd have to talk to them first and scan them first. I wouldn't just send, and I could say the same thing about a surgeon or whatever else too, but like a profession itself doesn't give you the ability to be awesome. And like there's bad things in everything. Like there's bad lawyers, there's bad cooks, there's bad coaches. So you have to do your due diligence. You can't just go to somebody just because they're a chiropractor or a surgeon or a physical therapist. Like there's good and bad in all of them. And in this skill set, like there's a lot of skill involved in chiropractic. That's what people don't realize as well. It's not just here, it's also a skill, and you have to have both of those things to be good. So it's like a cook, like a world-class cook at maybe Wolfgang Puck.
But see, you can judge a cook. Like you try a food, it's good, but like how do you know the doctor is good? That's the only thing.
Because there's either results or there's not. Like either you're better immediately or you're not. Yeah. And unfortunately, there's a logical fallacy.
There's too many doctors, like with lawyers and with car mechanics. This shit is everywhere, man. That's why it's like, to me, it's very frustrating when you require services, like professional services of doctors.
Because you don't know what you're getting.
Yeah, because they bank on your health. Lawyers bank on your misery, you know. Say, hey, you know, mechanics on your
family doctors.
Like this, it's. I think the industry in this sense is screwed up big time.
Well, and unfortunately too, I think there's a lack of critical thinking in all professions. And unfortunately, if you learn something one way, instead of questioning it and seeing if that lines up with your worldview, people just continue to say the same things that they were told, whether it be religion or a profession or whatever else. Instead of saying, does this make sense to me? Should I keep doing this? They don't do that. And they just get locked into this way of thinking, and they never get out of it. And then they get, tired of what they're doing, or
this brings up a fascinating thing because when I first started figuring out what you did around here, I started talking to people. Some of the patients would be walking out, and they said, "Yeah, this Dr. Beau guy is great. My doctor told me I needed surgery to fix this shoulder or whatever," and he's made me feel like 100%. Just with the 3 or 4 treatments. So it's fascinating that you're doing. Some surgeon along the way or some doctor somewhere said, "Hey, you need surgery to fix this," and then they get their second opinion. They come in here.
And surgery is scary, man.
Yeah,
I would avoid it.
So these people do want their second opinion, so they come in here and voila, they're walking out.
Word of mouth is a big thing in this instance, especially
for sure,
because you are involved at the highest of the highs, man, like with the fighters and broken bodies, and this is straight up.
Well, and how do you think I got here, right? It's the same thing. Like I would treat a couple fighters, and I would save them from a fight, having to be pulled out, and then they would send somebody else, and then they sent Greg, and they sent Luke.
And now you're part of the gym.
Like I said, personal testament, man. I pretty much live in the office.
That's what we're here for. It's kind of like an athletic training room.
And it's crazy that you don't, and that's true. Not to say that, but like in every, like, I was at chiropractors, I live in New Jersey, and they try to schedule, like you said, for this many appointments, and you need the treatment and lengthy treatment.
And all the treatments are the exact same, right?
exact
Every single time you
treat-
get the exact same treatment, which doesn't make sense.
Yeah, and then what happens is with you just literally need to show up 1 or twice. It's fairly inexpensive. You get treated, and then you guys show a bunch of exercises to people that you can do at home.
Keep
or
them
your
healthy.
facility is always there. So, like, you have that reverse extend. What's it called?
The reverse hyper machine that we have here?
Reverse hyper machine.
Yeah, it's a
Like,
great
even Joe
machine.
Rogan was talking about this thing. Whoever created this genius, and we have that one too.
Yeah, it's a
That's
solid
like-
machine.
Yeah, that saved my back, man. Like, I do that and whatever other. And I mean, you have one of the best staffs. Period. Like Maya, I love Maya.
Right.
You know, she's so, like, always happy, always positive.
You've got all the cool toys up
Yeah,
there in your
you've
office.
got
And I
toys,
think
you've
we
got-
put the
it's-
UFCPI's physical therapy department to shame. We have way more equipment,
yeah.
way more people.
Oh yeah.
We have traction machines. We have reverse hyper machines. We have ultrasound,
boots.
E-stim, laser, boots.
I believe it doesn't have to be all fancy and all this high tech, this and that and stuff. I think
If it works, it's right.
yeah, if it works, it doesn't have to be all sleeping pods and shit.
Right.
Well, that's the dirty little
Yeah,
secret
it's
about
like,
that
what is
Performance
the-
Institute in Vegas is people think that the athletes can just show up there and all of a sudden they're going to turn into a super athlete. No, they don't have coaches, so you still have to take your coach with you.
Yeah.
You know, when you can just come here, you got your doctors, you got your coaches, you got your training partners, you got
Nutritionists,
everything in house.
Yeah.
So
Now we've got the access to the DEXA
Yeah.
scanning and all the other technology.
yeah,
So really,
cool.
there's nothing that they have that we don't have. In fact, and we have better clinicians. Honestly, I'm just going to be honest with you. Like, no disrespect to any of them, but we're at the front edge. Like, we have people calling us from all over the country, fighters included, bodybuilders, you name it, to travel out and treat them because we view injuries differently.
The way I say, you can buy people, you can't buy skills.
True.
Yeah, so even we got Ken John Barber that makes many visits here.
Yeah.
So we get
People
someone
come from around
we
the
get someone to
world.
cheer for at the Super Bowl this
Yeah, exactly.
in
So
a
cheer
couple
for the
weeks.
Eagles because our boy
Is he-
Kenyon's out there.
He's in the
He's in the
Super
Super
Bowl.
Bowl.
he's in the
so,
Super Bowl.
So he
Yeah.
needs to win, bring the ring back.
Yeah.
We can all take
I
pictures
rolled
with it
with
like
him.
we
He
do with
used
the
to come
belts.
here and like take like roll.
Yeah,
with
he
John.
he does his strength and conditioning here in the summer, so
That's awesome.
so it's cool. We got
He's
to
not
see
a
him.
big guy, man, in comparison to like he's just like this.
Really fast.
I'm
Yeah,
sure
that's the
Unbelievably
that's
fast.
why he's there.
That's why he's running kickoffs back. Yeah,
Well, he
exactly.
tore his hamstring like incredibly bad last year, and none of the trainers or doctors for any of the pro teams could help him. So we came out here, we took a look at it, and we started doing some dry needling and some other things, and we were able to fix it. So we've done that several times with him where he's had an injury, and the doctors they have for their teams, the Chargers and the Eagles, couldn't help him at all, and so he ended up having to come here, and
You used to work for Dallas Cowboys, right?
I worked with them, yeah.
With them,
Yeah.
That's
Well,
freaking-
when I was in Dallas, we worked with
Let
quite
me
a
ask
few
you
Cowboy
this:
players.
what's the worst injury you ever had to deal with? Save the fighter from, like fighter, like.
To save them from, or to where I was just really
Well,
bad?
like involved. Well, like
Like
yeah,
we see a lot
such-
of broken hands, right? Like so,
Yeah, that's
it sucks because I can move the bones around and tell it's broken right away. Like, and I don't have any
Yeah, but
tools
what's
to be
the
able
worst?
to handle
Like,
that.
holy crap!
So when Paul Felder was training here, it was really interesting. I don't think he had ever gone skiing or snowboarding before. And so, of course, he was hanging out with Cowboy, and Cowboy
yeah.
talked him into going up on the mountain like 3 weeks out of his fight or 2 weeks out of his fight.
Jeez.
And so he ended up falling, and he dislocated his SC joint, the sternoclavicular, so where the collarbone comes in right here.
Jeez.
And it was like up here, like in his throat. Like, it was-
Holy
Oh
shit!
my god!
it
that's-
was really bad, like,
that's
and I
dangerous.
had never really treated it before. And so Cowboy drags him in. He's like, "Hey, man, can you fix him?"
It's my fault. I'll fix it. Now.
That's what's funny with everyone. They always go, Doug, just fix me. Just
Yeah.
fix me now, man.
And
And
I-
I realized
Put me in, coach.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of said,
funny.
I don't know, but let's try. And so basically, we used some of our tools, and we were able to get that collarbone all the way back in there, taped it up real solid. And he ended up winning that fight against Danny Castillo with a spinning back
I
fist.
remember
And
that was nice.
won a performance bonus and everything. So he would have for sure had to pull out of the fight if that wasn't the case.
But you got him back in.
So think about how much money. It's $100,000 right there, right? Like
Yeah,
a
you
bonus plus your show money and win money. Like one of the main things we do here is we allow these people to feed their families, because if they have to pull out of fights, they don't get paid. They still had to pay for their camp. They still had to pay for their nutrition. They still had to pay for their dues and all that other stuff.
And what's crazy, you don't even get anything from it, really.
Right.
You just put them together and that's it, and moving on. It's
Yeah.
not like, hey, I saved your career, man.
Yeah.
You know.
And sometimes because we fix it so easily, they don't understand how serious the problems were.
it just-
So they're not even aware, because they didn't get a second opinion because they came in and we just fixed them.
Yeah.
But if they had gone to another doctor or a surgeon or a physical therapist, they may have been told like how bad things were,
For sure. And then,
and then they
freak
would have
out.
some perspective, right? And
Yeah.
which that's part of the problem. Like, we don't want people to get into what's called the nocebo effect.
Yeah.
So the placebo effect means that if you believe something is going to happen, it's more than likely going to happen, which is a huge factor in everything, by the way. But the nocebo effect actually states that if you know about the side effects of something, you're more likely to experience them. It's that negative loop that we call it the doom loop. I think, I can't remember what book that was from, but he talks about the flywheel effect. When good things happen, it puts you in a good mood state, and then you put that energy out there, and it comes back to you, and everything kind of just turns over and goes in your favor. But when you do the negative energy and the negative thought processes, they did a study with people that they had 2 groups. One was selected as lactose intolerant, and one was lactose tolerant. So they gave both groups, they gave neither group lactose. They gave them a sugar pill. So there's no reason why either groups would have been sick. But about 90% of the group with a lactose intolerance, self-diagnosed, had gastrointestinal distress, diarrhea, bloating, throwing up. And about 30% of the group that was not lactose intolerant had the same symptoms just because they thought they got lactose. Yeah. Even surgery, like a lot of the surgeries we're finding out are no better than placebo. They just cut somebody open and sew them back up, and they do just as well as the person that has surgery.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. Energy, like energy is a very important thing, negative or positive. Sometimes you'll get, that's how you get like in depression modes. Like if you have negative energy, it'll put so much depression on you, and it's very hard to get out. That's why people just commit suicides, man, literally, because it's like they can't get out of it. It's like everything's bad, you know. Like I believe I have a weird thing of whatchamacallit, that when you think you're sick, like something like you see like hypochondriac, yeah, like it's a weird shit, man. Yeah. Like you'll have a pimple, oh shit, it's a staph.
Do you see that in him? Do you think that?
I always bug him, like, Beau, man, what is this pimple? What is this swelling?
I think I have cancer.
Yeah, like every day is like something new, man. Because everything from grappling hurts in your body, everything, you know, and then it's kind of like you develop certain nuts or whatever, like.
And there's certain diseases that actually manifest those things, like Munchausen's disease, where you actually start to show the symptoms, but you shouldn't. Yeah. Just because you think you have it.
Most people, like you said, develop their own symptoms, and then they go online. That's the worst. You go WebMD or Google that shit. Yeah, Misha's everyone tells you like I try to stay away from that thing because this will get you. Because most of all the symptoms are similar to pretty much everything.
Everything, yeah.
Cough, sneeze, this, whatever, blah blah blah, and this, you know, whatever major sickness you can have will have the same.
I don't know who gets
same symptoms.
I don't know who gets more attention from Misha, Dr. Frosty or you. Both of us. But he kind of tries to vary it.
Yeah, switch it up a little bit.
He shares it because he doesn't want to bug you.
You know what sucks, having the like VA and stuff, because that's even because you have access to it, and the doctor's non-stop, so you're just like it's easy to get in
and that always breaks my heart too, because we have all the paratroopers, everybody from the VA comes over here, and they have to pay out of pocket because the people there just aren't getting the job done. So that's kind of heartbreaking. But we give them a $10 discount.
But it's worth it. I'll tell you what, they do come. I mean, like I said earlier, they walk out and they're so happy. So I think the spending that $80, $90, whatever it is, per visit, it's canceled out because it feels so good. You're like, man, I can move my arm again.
And we spend a whole hour with them too. So like sometimes it takes 3 hours to truly figure out what's going on with the patient. Like they don't know what they're supposed to tell you. Like they're not doctors, so they don't know what's important and what isn't. And so you sometimes draw them out of that, or draw that out of them. But you can imagine what you could possibly get out of somebody in 10 minutes or 5 minutes, like at a normal doctor's office. There's no possible way you could figure out what's going on with somebody because people are complex beings.
And word of mouth has gotten out there about you so much. I mean, it's funny. It's amazing how it spreads because you feel good about your appointment. You put on your social media, hey, Dr. Beau fixed me up, and next thing you know, all the comments, oh yeah, I've used him before. Hey, how do I get a hold of him? Yeah. You know, and so the next thing you know, it's just everywhere. And
what's crazy is that you don't have a phone. That's what pisses me off.
We're new age, man. We don't do that stuff.
Yeah. They get calls like, I can't reach Dr. Beau. Well, you can't.
Yeah, they call the gym.
Can't talk to me.
They're always calling the gym.
He's incognito, man. He's like underground.
Is this Jackson Wink? Yes. Well, can I talk to Dr. Beau? No.
Absolutely
this is Jackson Wink.
Yeah. Can you talk to Greg Jackson? No.
But he's got a website. He's got a very cool website where you can make an appointment.
It's funny how people will call in.
It's really easy.
Yeah. It's crazy how we get like calls that, hey, can I talk to Holly?
Yeah, they think Holly's just sitting in an office.
Sure, yeah.
Hey, can I call, hey, call John Jones to the phone.
Holly nothing better to do right now.
Yeah. Hey, call John Jones. I want to talk to John Jones. I want to tell him like what's going on with him.
John Jones, you have a call on line 1.
Yeah. Hey, Greg. Hey, call Greg. Call Greg Jackson. I want to talk to him.
Carlos.
Sure, 1 sec.
Carlos is one of our most popular. He's everyone wants to talk to Carlos.
That makes sense.
Or a picture with him. Hey, can you call him and have him meet?
I think the most people want to talk to John.
Yeah, John is.
I want to talk to John.
We all want to talk to John. Where is John?
John, we miss you, man.
Come on, John.
You know what's interesting though is like we have 7,000 patients now, so like we have a high turnover rate because we get people in and out. But one of the things I wanted to talk about a little bit was like think about the power of the human mind. Like when you're really mad at somebody else and like you get your emotions up, like what that does to your blood pressure, what that does to your blood sugar. So, you know, if
we know he raises mine like
it happens all the time.
nonstop.
You guys are cute.
Fuck that shit.
It's a good thing I have no feelings, right?
Right.
I'd have some high blood
He
pressure.
has no feelings. He says he doesn't, and he cries like a little baby.
I don't have any
Yeah.
feelings. So anyway, like so these Tibetan monks, they can lower their heart rate down to almost absolute zero. So if you can do
Well,
that,
so
you
let's
can have
send them to
physiological.
Yeah.
Can I send him to Tibet?
Who gets more stress between the two of you?
Fuck me.
Oh, him,
Because
for
I have
sure.
so much more stress on top of this shit that I don't need, and he adds on to it. He don't have stress.
We should have you guys arm wrestle.
No, we should
Yeah.
grapple, which we did.
What
Yeah,
about
see,
a thumb war?
He always wants to. No, let's do a cracked neck contest.
Oh.
Whoever's neck cracks the loudest
No,
is
wins.
the most.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
but it's out of my
Sold.
control. No, but it's
Yeah,
out of my
he
control.
doesn't like
It's-
things that aren't in his control.
It might be under your
That's-
control.
He's
It's not out of my
so.
control. All right, keep talking about your shit.
See?
Yeah, so you know it's really interesting, and that's one thing I tell people too. Like they're like, "Do you work with a lot of baseball players?" And like, baseball players are a walk in the park. They just have repetitive injuries, and nobody knows how to assess them. So I deal with MMA fighters all day. Like nobody's harder on their bodies than these folks
Wow.
are. Like they do everything. They do boxing, jiu-jitsu, you know,
Smacked in the head.
yeah,
in the
you
face.
name it. Like if anybody's hard on their body, there's literally no sport that compares to the physicality
None,
of mixed
none.
martial arts.
It's not that you just, like with this. I mean, football is tough too, yeah. But like,
Nothing comparatively.
Yeah, who does
You
sparring?
get a break between plays. I mean, I played college football. I played for a
Yeah.
long time, but it's
Yeah.
nothing compared to
Here
grappling.
you have like I rolled with Cody East the other day, 250 pounds on top of me, and I'm 180 pounds.
yeah.
I mean, and that like every day. You don't know who you're gonna grapple with. You go with heavyweights and like, how many. I mean, obviously there's way more smaller people than bigger people, and then sometimes with training partners, this and that, you switch up doing whatever things you do. You end up going with guys that are way bigger than you
Yep.
and way smaller than you, and
We're just
then,
really out of shape.
we're out of shape, and they're going super hard or super not hard, and you going hard, and then you have injuries, and
Yeah.
it's a
Let me tell you a
crazy
funny
sport.
story about, speaking of John, like, so anybody who knows John Jones really well knows he's an instigator. He likes to get like people going. He likes to get them fired up. So he likes to get people to wrestle. See, he loves wrestling. He wants to get people to take each other down. He'll put money on it. He'll be like, I got $100.
My son won $10.
There you go. And so we were out in California. We were getting ready for his fight, and I've got one job, right? And my job is to make sure he's healthy, make sure he's feeling good. But at the end of the training session, John starts calling people out to wrestle, and so he's like, "You versus you, you versus you."
Oh boy.
And it's I can't back down, right? Like I can't take an L.
Yeah,
so
you
I
just
ended
got
up
called out. Yeah.
I got in there with this guy named, we call him Limo Matt. He was his driver.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah. So we ended up doing a wrestling match, and I pinned him right away, and then he actually tapped, and then he wasn't gonna quit. Like he was coming for more, and I was already
It's like
kinda gassed.
this isn't enough.
Yeah, so I took him down, took his back, everything, but I couldn't get him to tap, and like I just completely wiped myself out. So by the end of that, my blood sugar was gone. I ran a mile with John right before that too. So like they're having to take care of me because I can't move. Like my blood sugar is so low, I'm like pale, like I'm gonna pass out.
Yeah.
And literally like right before
Like when
that,
I took you down.
yeah, sort of. So, John,
You
like
said
he
that,
got taken. He got taken down and he hurt his shoulder, and so like my one job was to fix his shoulder, but instead he's like feeding me like M&Ms, trying to like get me to be able to. I couldn't stand up, I couldn't move, like I was like just.
The doctor needs a doctor.
It was so bad, and like my one job, the one job I was supposed to do is fix his shoulder,
and it's all John's
and he's
fault.
over there taking care of me.
But he made $10.
I tell you, John is an amazing individual, man. No matter what everyone says, he's a funny guy.
I thought
to be
Izzy was
around.
gonna kick my ass. He's like, really,
Yeah.
really, Beau?
you had one job. You had one
You had
job.
one job,
All you had to do is beat this guy quick, and then you let him freaking
or
kick
let
your
him
ass.
beat you. But whatever it was, make sure that you're healthy enough to where you can make sure you take care of John.
How about Alistair, man? When he comes in and
Oh,
beats the
fuck
crap
that.
up of everyone.
We was chasing
He's
you down the halls?
Yeah, he's chasing down the hall. You fucking rape this guy,
yeah,
man. Literally, man. It's like it's funny, and I told John and Alistair too, man. You know what's crazy about this, man? If you had decided to rape someone, like it's a rape a dude, like there's nothing you can fucking do about it.
Speaking,
it's like
and
tie you up.
He's been raped before too. He knows.
Well,
No matter how
I
tough
can,
he.
well, I can do way better than you can.
It doesn't matter. It's better. A loss is a loss.
Well, I can last longer.
Oh, okay. So you get raped later.
I'm not
than
sure
I
that's
do.
something to brag about here.
A loss is a loss.
And he's blushing, man. I
Yeah,
don't
no,
know.
he doesn't like to lose. He hates it. It drives him crazy.
Is that a military thing?
Got freedom.
Got freedom, sort of, not really. You just saw they passed.
No, it just staying like.
The-
and
what was the new fight
There's
thing?
a good video about it when Joe Rogan talks about like there's a video about like trained martial artist and then an untrained person, and that how untrained people get into physical confrontations without not knowing how to fight.
Yeah, that's a bad idea.
And then like, why would you believe? Why would you believe that this is, you know, that you can fight? You know how you see those like people that just like, oh, you know, they want to get in the fight, but you have no freaking idea like what it takes and what can be done to you. And then how many levels to this stuff? Like I'm saying, I train all my life, but then there's some guys here,
can tap
you know, just like you're like, holy shit, like you make you feel like you never trained.
So they've done a lot of studies on this too. Like people vastly overrate their abilities and everything. They think they're funnier than they are. They think they're much more intelligent. Like people with IQs of lower than 100 are like 90% more likely to think they're smarter than average than somebody who's actually smarter than average.
Such a different thing, man.
It's the same thing. People vastly overestimate their ability to fight. Like, oh, I'm a dude. I watched Rocky, and so I can totally fight and win. I mean, it's ludicrous. Like MMA fans.
You know what's funny is that the emails and things like that, inquiries.
And everybody's an expert, right? They'll tell you how to box and like how you're striking.
Exactly.
Thank you, Bob, that lives in your mom's basement. I'm glad you put in your keyboard warrior. You know exactly what's going on.
It's like, hey, what's your credentials, son?
My God. Yeah, it's, you know what's interesting? I'm 35 years old now. I've never been in a real fist fight in my life.
I've been some. You're lucky.
I'll bet
and you live in Albuquerque?
Am I lucky, or do I handle the situations in an appropriate fashion?
But I mean,
he does psychological warfare.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you know what? I always said,
verbal
Dr.
martial
Beau
arts
would be a phenomenal grappler, man. It would be a freaking nightmare to deal with because he knows all those points. You know how everything you do like hurts so bad.
Yeah,
dude, you can like literally like disassemble a person and grapple. Like if you learn the skills, like how to grapple
and get in shape,
get in the mats. And
Nick, get over there. Let him do some pressure points on you. I want to see someone squirm.
It's messed up, man.
Have you ever been
messed up? They're doing that to you.
Yeah,
he's been treated.
Yeah.
Yeah,
he didn't even make a face, man. He was a gangster in there.
Oh, come on.
Serious?
Why you gotta punk us out like that?
Man, I was going hard on him, and he held it together. Wow. He was a gangster in there.
You're allowed to cry up there, you know that.
Well, he didn't, not even close. He barely made a face.
It's funny, man, how people, like, you'll see Dr. Bull working on them, like, downstairs.
Oh,
and
you laugh at
it. Freaking.
Yeah, you laugh.
And then, like, every time when I'm like, hey, Beau, I'm, like, feeling so bad, this and then you start working, he's like, why the fuck did I
say something?
Why did I need to go there, you know?
That's funny.
It's like, why? But
yeah, so, like, with physical confrontation, like, there's levels to it, right? When somebody touches you, I think you've crossed the line. But it's my ability to let somebody else's words hurt my feelings, which I refuse to do. Like, if I don't know whatever happened to sticks and stones in our society, but everybody feels like they have the right to be offended and triggered by everything. And you're in charge of your emotions. You're in charge of your reaction to any situation. And people have lost that nuance, that ability. So, like, there's nothing anybody could ever say to me to hurt my feelings. I'm very confident in who I am and self-belief and all those kind of things. I don't have any problem with somebody saying something to me. I may choose to disassociate with them, but I don't need to get in a fist fight. And when you think about, like, the pros and cons, right? Like, you get in a fist fight with someone. What's the best case scenario of what happens? Like, you drop him and knock him out, and maybe don't break your hand and don't get the cops called on you. But you could die. You could get stabbed.
Or you can kill someone.
You could kill somebody and go to jail. Or you could get killed.
That's my scariest thing.
You could get your face broken. You know, you could get arrested or damage yourself badly. But, like,
so you should train, so you know how to.
But even then, like, it doesn't mean anything. That means that you may be more likely to hurt somebody.
It's very hard.
But I'm saying, like, because, like, me knowing what I know now, if I were to get in physical confrontation with someone, I'll just control them, like, to a certain extent.
Hopefully.
Do you literally think you could kill someone, though, by grappling with them?
Yeah.
100%.
Of course.
Yeah. Dude, you don't remember with grapple, man? You choked you out like 30 seconds. You were gargling for air. What are you talking about?
Oh, boy. Here we go.
Here we go.
What the hell are you talking about? What do you think you can kill? This is a murder weapon.
Yeah, but
being a
2 minutes without oxygen. 2 minutes without oxygen is brain dead. Yeah. So if you held onto a choke for a minute
I can rip your arm out. I can rip your leg out.
But that's not in the real world. I didn't have my knife with me, and I could have cut your arm.
Shut your brachial artery.
But that's the problem. See,
no, the problem is I will subdue you, bro.
On a controlled,
but you don't know if they have a weapon or not.
You don't know.
Exactly.
Well, there's a video actually. There's a very nice video which is actually brings up a good point. So there's a video I saw. It's crazy. So this guy is in the parking lot getting a fight. And one of the guys is a very good jiu-jitsu practitioner. So he gets the guy in the armbar. Literally, the guy pulls out the knife and stabs him.
Wow.
Okay, literally,
and he's the Walking Dead after that.
Scary to watch. Like
stabbed him in the head?
Stabs him here.
And he kills him. I mean, he's the Walking Dead after that.
Yeah. But the thing is, that after watching that video, like I will know that okay, like I will never approach anyone, and because
nobody's tougher than a bullet, and you don't know who you're dealing with.
That's true. But I'm saying is like having the jiu-jitsu experience, and like what I would do, like if I were in a situation to fight, I would not submit the guy. Why would I need to submit the guy? I'll punch his head off. Like if I was in a very bad situation,
right?
Because I can put a knee on belly or mount him and just beat the crap out of him. I'm not gonna just.
And really, I would even give somebody. You can put your hand on me once, maybe twice. You could even push me a little bit, and I'm still probably not gonna react. But there has to be a cutoff. Yeah. For me, it's only if somebody weaker than me is being injured, or if it's my family member or whatever. And I wrestled for 7 years growing up. I mean, I've done boxing. But there's no reason for me to get into a conflict in the real world. Like just control your emotions. Everybody's so emotional these days.
Especially
calm, cool, and collected, down the middle.
I talked about it before. Like I carry my business cards, and back in the day too, when I was like in New Jersey, and I remember there was one scenario too, like somebody like was passing by, like this road rage, or whatever. I was crossing the road, the guy like looked at me and started cursing me out for whatever reason, So what I do is I give him a business card to my gym. I say, hey bro,
come meet me down here.
I ain't going to jail for your stupid ass. You want to duke it out. You feel like there's a problem, okay? Here, come in, sign the waiver. Freaking change up. Let's hit the freaking cage or the mats, and we'll figure it out. Okay?
I'd rather have a battle of wits. I think that'd be more fun.
Yeah, I'm saying, but like on the street, you know what? I have family.
Yeah, man, you have a lot to lose.
I'm not going to jail because
for what? But at the end of the day, nothing is ever as bad as you think, and nothing is ever as good as you think. And we just get caught up in our own perceptions. Like, the number one way that you can quantify yourself as a loser is to not be able to see something through somebody else's perspective. And we're so caught up in how we feel and how important we are and how entitled we are that we refuse to believe how the rest of the world perceives us and adapt ourselves accordingly. Like, if you want to make your life better, what you have to do is you can't say, oh, it only matters what I think. Because we're not solitary beings. We function in a social world, and we need to be able to navigate that. So you need to be able to understand what you look like, what you sound like, and be okay with that too. So if you can do that, most of the time you'll be able to mold your circumstances that are beneficial for you.
Well, right now don't
fight angry. Relax.
Yeah, fight drunk.
So that's we've been waiting 4 months to take a shot of this.
Because nobody else will do it.
So Dr.
all these
Beau,
tough fighters, nobody will take a shot of them.
We have a special challenge, special event. Cowboy was supposed to come.
We're missing a cup.
Yeah, we're missing a cup because I'm not drinking it.
Right there.
See, look at this.
I'm not drinking this.
It's the snake liquor.
Yeah.
There was a snake in here.
Yeah, only 3 people.
Straight out of Japan.
I have a job to do.
I'm pretty big.
I'm at work.
I think I have to pop your necks before I drink.
Yeah. Drunk cracking.
So why don't we do that first?
So today, as of now, Dr. Beau is not seeing any patients.
True.
We don't know. We don't know the effects of this.
Your appointments have been canceled.
There is.
There is. I'll be on the shitter all day probably.
There's a pit viper inside this thing, and he's been waiting.
Oh my God, I haven't.
So let's do the neck challenge first, and then we'll take the shots.
Okay, we're gonna let this air out like a fine wine. Misha, you're up. Go get your neck cracked. Come on.
Let's go.
Don't be a pussy.
I'm not.
Go do it.
Why is so much going on?
Go do it.
Let's go.
Come on.
Because it's a wild podcast, man. That's why. It's a wild podcast.
So where are we doing?
You're in with the Savage Doc, the guy that don't give a damn.
Let's get the mic next to the neck.
Yeah. High fidelity.
The good news is, if anything happens, you got it on film.
That's the good news.
All right, scoot your butt down a little bit.
Jenya, watch this episode.
Scoot your butt down a little bit more. So slouch. There we go.
What am I doing?
You're just playing dead. Just be extra floppy. We good on the mic here? Can you be closer? Or?
We gotta move this mic.
But you didn't do physical examination. You said you're supposed to do.
I've done it before. It's not like you're a new patient.
Yeah, but this problem with my neck.
Yeah, it's attached to your head.
Freaking me out.
There you go.
There's a problem.
Surround sound.
Surround sound. All right. So we're gonna go right there.
I heard it.
Anticlimactic.
Oh.
Woo.
I'm alive.
So what is it? There was barely a crack. What does that mean? Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Some people aren't as poppy.
I'm not the crackhead.
All right, scoot your butt down.
Let's
Slouch.
see.
Slouch more. There we go.
Get you closer.
Police on crack.
Oh.
Ooh, I heard that. I heard that from across the table.
Who wins? Nick, you're up.
He's in the lead right now. Mark's in
Free
the lead
treatments.
All right.
I have a feeling Nick's gonna win. Just have this feeling.
So who wins? Does the one that cracks louder or who doesn't crack?
One that cracks loudest.
Oh, I heard that one.
All right.
Yeah, I'm not sure. You guys were close. We'd have to go to the tape for it.
Yeah,
Misha did not win.
I did not win.
We'll put it up on the poll.
Misha did not win.
I did not want
All
to
right,
win.
let's take these shots.
All right.
Shots. What is this now?
Nick.
Called Habu Sake, straight out of Japan.
But what is it? Is it like a rice? Is it?
Some kind of a rice?
It's
rice,
snake
wine or
piss.
beer.
So somebody explain why is there a snake in there? Can somebody
Yeah, what's the story?
tell me what's going on with the snake? Why is that a
Let's
thing?
Google it. Like, why? Take a shots and then you can, guys.
Oh, afterwards. You're not taking one?
No, I'm not good. I have to. I'm working, bro, and I'm training tonight. I'm not drinking.
Look at him.
It's
a
a
big
snake
pansy.
wine.
Salute.
Right.
I'm doing. Chin chin.
Don't cheers his
In
wine.
Russia, they say na zdrowie.
Down the hatch.
The taste.
It's just like anything whiskey or.
It smells like regular liquor, right? Smells like regular liquor.
It's got a different aftertaste to it.
It's got that slimy.
Snake.
I don't get it. What's the big deal?
What are you supposed to feel? It's liquor. It's,
All right.
All
I
right.
wish it was absinthe.
I thought something exciting was gonna
how
happen.
about you guys kill the bottle?
Ew.
Like if you already
No,
started
no.
it, kill the bottle.
Hard
Go back
pass.
to work.
I'm not much of a drinker,
I mean,
actually.
hey,
Like, I barely ever drink.
Let's Google it. What makes it?
What-
like,
what is
Mark,
it? What's special about it?
Let's Google, Mark. Let's see on YouTube like what makes and how they came about that they make.
Don't
liquor.
Google Mark.
Huh?
Yeah, if you Google "world's most hated photographer,"
That's what you're gonna find.
I didn't know that was a thing, but apparently, yeah.
I want to read about it, like what makes liquor special. and
Habu
so-
Sake,
with snake.
Habu Sake?
Oh, there's many different ones.
Habushu. It's a Wamori-based liquor made in Okinawa, Japan. Okay, let's make this. Let's go widescreen here. Habu Sake, Okinawan snake wine, named after the Habu snake, which belongs to the pit viper family and is closely related to the rattlesnake or copperhead. Okay, let's get to
What did I
what's
just
the
do?
purpose of this. There are two methods of inserting the snake into
The Habu
alcohol.
snake can cause nausea, vomiting, hypertension, and possibly death.
You motherfuckers are dead.
Oh, were we supposed to read this disclaimer before?
Whoops. All right, live dangerously, my friends.
So
Live dangerously.
The last line says the
You're supposed to read the disclaimer.
hey, we're missing the best part here. The Habu
would've been
snake.
useful.
The Habu snake is able to mate for as long as 26 hours,
Stamina.
Does it transfer?
which causes some to
whoever
believe-
drink it.
which causes some to believe that a drink of the habushu may help sexual dysfunction in men.
Oh,
A common superstition is that these strengths are passed on to those who drink. There you go.
Jesus, man. Okay, pour me a shot.
All right, here he goes. You can call Misha's wife. Tell him to thank the snake.
Yeah.
Take the snake.
Thank the snake.
Man, that was funny.
Thanks for
funny.
doing that shot with us there. We've been holding this for quite a while.
Hey,
Yeah.
man. No, your boy ain't scared.
Who's the next brave one?
Unfortunately, that's one of my biggest problems. Like, if any weakness in life is like, I have a hard time saying no to dares.
Really?
I got that cowboy thing. It's like,
Okay,
say
I
won't.
dare you to. No, I'll come up with a dare later.
He'll do it.
Well, but you have to do what I do, though.
Oh, yeah. Works both ways.
What?
That's the way it goes. If I'm going to do it, you got to do it.
So dare for a dare?
A dare for a dare. We'll climb up the outside of a building.
Yo, what about those people like in Russia? They show the ones that climb the buildings
Oh,
and
fuck
jump
those
over
guys.
that shit and freaking hang. Bro, tell me this from your medical. Perfect that I.
What's
brought
wrong
it
with
up.
them?
Dude, how is it possible, man? Like, I look at that, like, I get sweaty and nauseous, and like, I'm like, you know, Mark, Google one of those Russian building climbers.
Last month or a couple months ago, a guy died.
Yeah, people
doing
die.
that.
People die,
A
but like,
a Chinese guy.
yeah, and in Russia, I'm sure.
But the
people
thing
die.
is,
But
like-
it started in Russia.
You're usually going to die from 5 stories, so 50 stories really isn't any different.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm saying is that how does a person physically can control their that anxiety and that thing, like being hanging off the building, or do you see one where the guy holds a girl like this and she kind of like how do you put that trust into, like, I mean, that's just mind-boggling to me, man.
Like anything, if you expose yourself to something, you become numb to it over time. Some people are just predisposed to it more than others, but like it's like me with bodies, right? Like I've cut open enough cadavers, I've seen enough blood and stuff. It doesn't faze me even a little bit.
Yeah, but this is different, bro.
I don't think it is. I think
Okay.
If you acknowledge that the death is the same from 5 stories
let's
versus
put this up on the screen, Nick.
Like,
I want to let's watch these crazy guys. Holy shit!
That guy sounds good.
Russian Daredevil. Of course, it has to be Russians that'll come up with that shit.
Yeah.
Holy shit! Who does this?
Does it make your butthole pucker a little bit?
Jesus Christ, man! Never in my life. I'm like already sweating.
Well, these guys aren't doing the hanging off thing. All right, I want
go down. Let me find.
Look at this guy. He's on a unicycle.
He does have a disclaimer. That's nice.
Mark, scroll. I want to see. I want to tell you which one.
These guys got married on a skyscraper.
Go down. There's the original.
Disclaimer: don't do dumb shit.
Why am I hearing? Why are we hearing ourselves?
Because you sound awesome.
Well, let me search.
It's like deja vu, man.
What
There's a glitch in the Matrix.
What did you Google?
Russian guys on skyscrapers or something.
No, yeah, Russian Daredevil. Just put
Woo.
Russian Daredevil. Did you catch a drift?
You know,
drunk?
The other thing is that like when you are in a life and death situation,
This is a Mustang. Mustang is the best one. He's the original guy.
Number 2.
This is the crazy guy.
Okay.
This dude.
you guys ever gone rock climbing or anything like that?
Hell no. Put this up.
He said,
Put this up.
You afraid of heights?
He's Russian.
Dude, they're like, listen, you know, all them getting, I'm like, why do I need all that
The next
crap?
time we go to Vegas, we're gonna jump off the stratosphere.
Okay, yeah.
You're gonna do it with me.
This guy's naked.
Ish.
Is it up?
Yeah.
Put it full
don't know
screen.
I don't know why we have no sound. He's Russian.
Dude, they're like, listen, you know, all them getting, I'm like, why do
Kill your.
Come on, everybody.
Holy
Nice.
crap!
But what's going on in his mind? How is he able to control himself
So it's,
right now?
if we put the block on the floor and had you walk across it, you could probably do it. You wouldn't fall off of it. But
Yeah.
there's no difference physically speaking. You're
Look
still
at this guy.
contact
Look at
with
this
the-
guy. Look at this guy. So
Dude, one misstep.
the guy
one.
died. The guy died in China doing the same
So
exact
you,
thing.
you couldn't hang off the edge of the cage with like something right
What
below
if he's
you?
not strong enough to pull,
Well, the
to
guy-
pull himself
the
I'm
guy-
sure he's done it before.
There's a guy that did it. He tried to do it, and he got weak. He did like 3 pull-ups. And
I
he
saw
obviously
that, I
had no
saw
upper
that.
body strength,
Yeah.
and so like the third one,
he's struggling to
he's
come
struggling,
up.
and then
Well,
at
and
one
when
point he
you
just
realize
said, "Fuck
it,
it,"
And then he
you're-
just lets go.
Yeah, your blood sugar drops and
he couldn't do anything. He's dead.
yeah. Yeah, but like if I laid a piece of
All right, that's cool.
like a board on the ground and asked you to walk across it, you could probably do it without falling off of it, right?
Well, yeah, but this is different,
It's
bro.
not different. You're still contacting the exact same surface area, so that they convince themselves that it's no different than walking across a board, because they don't imagine anything else. It's like the guy hanging off of it. You could if I had you hang
Why are
off
we
the
hearing ourselves?
the
Why
side
are
of
we
the
hearing
cage
ourselves?
instead of hanging there for 15 seconds to pull yourself back up, you could do it.
Yeah,
It's the exact same physical thing there.
I don't know. So I think the adrenaline.
The only difference is the perception.
This guy had a lot of adrenaline or something, and he was able to do it.
No, because you know you can die, it freaks you out.
Yeah.
Because you know you won't die if you fall off the cage there. You know you won't die if you step on a piece of wood on the ground.
So you could hang from that bar all day.
You stay calm from it. Yeah, no big deal.
But as soon as you put 1,000 feet underneath you, changes the dynamics.
Yeah,
of
most
the whole
people
thing.
their brain gets a hold of them and they can't shake what they're doing there. It's the same thing when you're rock climbing. Like it's no different than being. in the
Have you ever
gym.
seen the show? Remember old show, 1,000 Ways to Die?
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm sure you loved that one.
yeah, of course.
It was fun.
That was an awesome show.
I remember that. I was watching it like, oh my god, man! It just now I wouldn't like to watch it because like
There's some people do
the
stupid shit.
young guy was. I was like, well, I didn't care.
Mess you up.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting the things that we do that are actually very risky that we don't think about because they're common to us. Like taking ibuprofen, for example. Like 16,000 people a year die from bleeding issues and stuff from ibuprofen. but we freak out about something that's 1.5, you know, 1 in 1.5 million because somebody puts it in your head and lets you fester on it and lets you think about it.
That's why we don't take ibuprofen. We take CBD.
Yep. Yeah. I'm a big fan of that stuff, by the way.
CBD Boutique is our sponsor.
You,
yeah. So since our
give me that, I want that.
Since they
I
are
love CBD oil.
Yeah.
And this is some of the cleanest.
Tell us, what do you know about CBD? We always ask our guests.
I know a lot about it. I mean, it's got anti-inflammatory,
anti-venomous,
anti-venom. We need that now. But yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of cases of people, even with seizures and people with autism, that have had their symptoms relieved significantly by it. Now that's anecdote. When we talk about research, the best type of research is meta-analysis, or studies of studies. But you can't, you know, one of the paradigms we fall into, the pitfall is evidence-based medicine, which is actually crap because it doesn't take into account the skill set of the provider and their ability to identify the right patient population. So when you hear a lot of anecdote, yes, anecdote is the weakest form of medicine, but if it works for somebody, that's all that matters. And so like for example, say we'll just use this for example, or like manipulation for example. Like if you took 50 people with lower back pain and only 13 of them had facet joint fixation, which is like basically what popping fixes, right? And you popped all 50 of them and only 13 of them got better because that's what they had. The other ones had muscle problems or ligament problems. And then you extrapolated that data and said only 26% of people get better with lower back pain with manipulation. Well, that's kind of true, but not really. If you had somebody that was an expert that could tell you who needs what treatment, and we only treated those 13 people with that, then your odds of getting the results are much better. So same thing with this too. Like if you did this on every form of autism, some of them, of course, aren't the same thing, and it won't help for them. So if you just said, hey, this form of autism or whatever else is going to respond to it, and you gave them this, and you only gave it to those people, then the percentage of change is going to be significantly better because of that.
Well, so what are you saying? It's a placebo thing, or okay?
I'm saying that
it doesn't work on everybody.
When you look at research for stuff like this, or even stem cell, or chiropractic or things like that, like most things don't really pan out over research. We have thousands, even millions of cases of people who have had their lives changed by it. Yeah. And the problem with that is when you legislate those things into effect, and they've tried to do it with CBD in the past, where they've tried to legislate it out and said it's part of the marijuana plant, so it's a Schedule 1, then what you're doing is you're eliminating this huge patient population that does really great with it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's been some studies that have shown that potentially this could reduce tumor size in the colon. Another study came out and said, well, it's hard to tell. And so if they took that study...
God, I hate that. There's so many...
How do they measure, that's what always bugged me, like the researchers and stuff.
There's always a researcher that counters something that's good.
One day is this, one day say, coffee is good for you. Next you look at the Yahoo, coffee is not good. The next day you look at the article. It's it's so confusing, man. Right. It's almost like, because they need funds, right, for researchers, for scientists and stuff. So it's almost like they create this shit so they can have job to do, man, like the way I see it. Because if they don't have anything to research, then how the hell are they going to get the funds to do it?
And study designs are different. Like you're going to have different groups and different controls. And just because something's published in a peer-reviewed journal doesn't mean that it's necessarily a quality study.
100%. But then how does it...
but the media will grab the headline.
But how does a mere mortal like me knows what's good, what's not?
There's a book out there called How to Read a Research Paper. It's a short book. I think it's really good. It talks about p-values and sample sizes and blinding and things like that.
P-value. What's a p-value?
Basically, it's going to show the probability of
I'm thinking urine. Okay, P.
Oh, no.
Different kind of P.
Different P. No. Like the letter P, not like the urine value.
Not P.
Either you're in or you're out.
Like the shit you just drank.
PP.
It might have been snake P.
Kind of looks like PP.
Right, that's what I said.
Yeah, so there's correlation and causation, and then we talk about like regression means and things like that. But that's more for statisticians to talk about. But clinicians are not supposed to be researchers. They're supposed to be able to identify based on acknowledgement of the research and then identification if something's biologically or physiologically plausible. And unfortunately, in the age of evidence-based medicine, what we've done, we've countered too far. We've swung too far the other direction to where clinicians aren't capable of critical thinking and thinking for themselves and thinking about what their patient could or couldn't do and using logic and physiology as their guidelines, and they only want to do what a research paper says, which is very limited in its ability for real-world.
You lost me at P.
All I know
is CBD Boutique sells this stuff. It does wonders for these guys that are taking it. Misha, I can speak for
I'll tell you
anecdotally,
it works really well for me.
Yeah. And
I'm a big fan.
It works great for Misha too, because he used to be Oscar the Grouch all day.
And it doesn't work. Not anything works for everybody, right? Like there's certain people that stuff doesn't work for. You know, think about this.
And that's pretty expensive too. Like, I mean, it's fairly affordable, but that's quality stuff.
Quality
it's not
stuff.
one of those
Yeah,
they're cheapy ones.
Yeah, they're getting it
yeah.
from the farms in Colorado, which
that's
are
some good stuff.
So here's an analogy I like to use sometimes. So like one of the problems again with chiropractors or PTs or whatever is they view the world through their lens. So a surgeon is going to look at somebody and say there's something structurally wrong that needs to be corrected. A physical therapist will tell you your core is weak. The chiropractor tells you your bone's out of place. Massage therapist tells you have trigger points. So they're all subject to their own paradigm. And so like if I was a family doctor and everybody that walked in I gave diabetes medication to, but only about 10 to 12% of the population has diabetes medication. Well, 10 to 12% of those patients are going to do really well, and the rest of them are either going to not do any different or they're going to do worse because of it. So if only 25% of people need to be adjusted or manipulated, but I adjust every single person that comes in, what are the odds that my success rate's going to be there? Well, for the 25%, that's awesome, but they're not identifying the different patient populations. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So they're giving the wrong treatment to 75% of the people. And they don't know that they're giving the wrong treatment to 75% of the people.
People get misdiagnosed and freaking over-medicated or under-medicated.
Doctors kill more
Every
people.
one of us probably is one way. Like,
Well, medical errors is what the third leading cause of death.
I thought it was number one. I'm pretty sure it's number one. They're trying to say police kill all these people.
I think it's number one non-natural because I think number one is heart disease and I believe number two is cancer. I'd have to, don't quote me on that. But
well,
medical
man-made.
errors
I'm talking about man-made. Yeah.
Well, you'd have some people argue that those are man-made as well.
A heart attack. Yeah. You're
heart
the one that ate
attacks
all
and
the Big
cancer is
Macs there.
man-made too, man. I believe because all the shit that they feed us and give us and stuff, that's man-made.
Maybe.
Man-made, factory produced.
I
and
think
stuff,
if you
all the
live long
crap.
enough, something has to kill you. Like
Yeah, of
something is
course.
going to give out. Now we've been able to use
Yeah, but I mean,
antibiotics. We've eliminated cholera and
It's all nonsense.
You want to die in a natural way, man.
It's all nonsense.
but you don't have
but-
any control. Some of it's
Yeah,
genetic,
true,
some of
true.
it's environmental.
Sure.
I have family that died in their 90s and they smoked and drank their entire life. I mean, it just
Statistical
doesn't make
variance.
sense. It's
Well,
just-
ladies and gentlemen, they actually tells us like the type of people we have in our camp. Smart people, man. Like Dr. Beau.
Well, you got to be a smart guy.
Man,
Think
we're
about
very
this. Think
smart.
about how
he's definitely the
Between
smartest guy.
Greg, well, Heather, Anita, this guy, Jackson.
How little do we
Man,
actually
jeez.
know? How little do we know? Think
Yeah,
about
but
this.
it puts us at ease. Like, puts me at ease because every time I go to you, if my son with me or to Heather or anything, it's like you say how it is, man, and that actually is a big. It's a huge positive thing to have access to this, because it's accessible to us and to all the fighters and to all the people here.
Do you know when penicillin became available?
Oh.
1942. So we've only had antibiotics for less than 100 years. MRIs didn't exist until the late 80s and 90s, but we act like we know everything there is to know.
Yeah.
The truth is we're just simple little hominids running around trying to figure out our place in the stars. I always laugh when I hear people talking about the shape of different galaxies and universes. Like you've ever been anywhere to try to extrapolate that kind of data and
Exactly.
information?
That's why it always bugged me. Like
Oh,
I
here
have
we
this.
go.
Yeah. I always.
So Misha, did we land on the moon or not?
Is the Earth flat?
Well, that's one thing that, like when people talk about something that happened millions of years ago, like about dinosaurs, always freaks me out. It's like when they build the dinosaurs, that's how the dinosaur looked and this and that. It's just like,
Well, how arrogant of us to think we know
like,
everything.
Yeah, like man, you live maximum 90 years old, right?
That's
Like,
right.
I mean,
So
maximum,
nobody was
100
here 150
Yeah.
years ago.
How can
There's
you
no
positive-
eyewitnesses to 150 years ago.
Oh my God, man, that freaks me out all the time. Like all the scientists and stuff.
But then they undig these
human
pyramids.
error, the human error,
And they're so certain about
and
everything,
they're so
right?
certain, and they argue this about this and that.
No,
and
it's just a
what's
proven
and
fact, scientific consensus.
And then what's inside the Earth when they start doing the dissecting, and then you look at the Discovery
so
Channel.
you've been down there inside the mantle?
Yeah, exactly. It always freaks me out.
Tell me more.
That's why I always say I'm a realist. And I'm real about. We don't know jack shit.
Right.
We know a little bit
In the medical field, too.
Bit.
Hmm.
Yeah. But in all fairness, as
We're just
people, as
scraping the
humans-
surface, right?
exactly.
Yeah,
We
when did they
just
start doing
scraping.
autopsies? Exactly. It was
What
Yeah,
lives
science
at the
goes
bottom of
deep.
the Marianas Trench?
I mean, science is deep.
Oh, scary.
Science is deep. The technology is crazy these days. Obviously, we've never. I mean, this is a boom, right?
Sure.
Like in technology and things like that.
Which is incredible. We went from not being able to fly planes in 1900 or 18 whatever,
and you know what's crazy?
to setting off an atomic weapon, which is
a
like
lot
a small
of the,
sun
a lot
in
of
40
these
years.
things, a
And
lot
to
of
go
the
into the
things
moon.
that a lot of the things that we have
Allegedly.
now happened within. You know what's crazy? That happened within our time frame.
Yeah.
Yours and mine and yours.
Think about it since the
I came
40s.
to America.
Air
we
conditioning,
had,
indoor
We had
heating.
those little those huge. I mean, not little huge Motorola phones. and it was so like
the
remember
internet,
I had
phones.
the TVs were black and white. I was growing up
Tinder.
like literally, and we just advanced from that point on. When
Deodorant is less than 100 years old.
Yeah,
Wow.
Contact lenses.
yeah.
Holy crap.
Look at the technology we have. Look what we
This
just
is
put up.
stuff we take for granted now.
Oh, 100%. Indoor lighting, electricity, heat, air conditioning, those are all less than 60 years old.
Controlled climates.
Microwave
yeah.
oven, like less than 60 years. Like so literally, like your elders didn't have any of these kind of things.
Yeah.
Can you imagine how confusing
I
the world
remember
is
as a
now
kid
for them?
I remember as a kid was growing up in Russia, man. It was just like none of this was manageable. But
Right.
and we lived normal. We adapted. We
Right.
had no other choice.
We don't know any different.
We
You're
didn't know
subject to
different.
your own paradigm. Like
Yeah.
I can never view the world the way you do.
I just want a flying
you,
car
you
before
could say
I die.
that's yellow, and I could say that's yellow, but I have no idea. Maybe my yellow is your red, but we just agree on the term yellow. But we don't know. Like we can only see this much of the electromagnetic spectrum. Like your visual, like you don't see infrared,
Just
you don't
think
see
of 100
ultraviolet.
years from now when we're gone, like what that's going to be like.
Think about this.
We'll be gone. We won't be dead. We won't know.
We won't know.
That's crazy,
Think about
man.
this. You don't see air. The reason why you don't see air is because you've evolved to not see it. Because if you could see it, then animals
You
could
can
creep
see
up
the
on you and
you can
kill
see
you.
the air in Mexico City,
Yeah, right. That's true. In L.A. even.
L.A. Yeah, some days.
But like your reality isn't at all what you perceive it as. In fact, you have these two areas right here where there's actually no rods or cones,
Yeah.
but your brain fills in the information. They're called blind spots. There's actually a test that I'll show it to you guys when we
Yeah.
get done here. Like, but your brain basically decides it's going to fill in this information that isn't actually there, and that's how we navigate our world. And unfortunately, if people start to question the reality, that may make them a little bit crazy.
Did we go to the moon or not?
Did people land on the moon?
Did Americans land on the moon?
I don't know.
Buzz Aldrin would punch you.
I wasn't there, right?
Buzz
I don't know.
Aldrin would punch you.
I believe it's plausible. But the questions that I would ask is, do you know how many presidents were in office for the moon landings?
Couple. It was just one. It was
Richard Nixon.
It was just before Kennedy. Yeah. Okay.
You know what's crazy about it? That everyone writes
Just
their own
after.
history. Everyone writes their history.
Well, think about
That's what's
the
crazy
disputes in
about it.
history. Like people dispute
Yeah.
whether the Armenian genocide happened or not, right?
But
Like
it's in everything. It's in every part of history.
to the victor
Like
writes
Russia,
history.
like
right?
Russia says we won the war.
Yeah,
America says
there's
we won
Holocaust
the war.
deniers.
There's
America won World War II.
Yeah, no, America did not win.
America won World War II.
Back it up. With
Here we go. Here we go.
But back it up. Like
Back
back
it
it
up.
up.
Break it down.
Back it up. One
Back it up.
thing is to say, but one thing is actually like back it up. That's different.
Sometimes I wonder if he's American or not.
We're colluding with Russians right now.
I know.
Well, I'm wearing.
Are you a bot?
I'm wearing a United States Navy T-shirt, which I actually earned to wear.
But it takes so much for him to defend America.
No, it doesn't. It has not to do with saying the truth.
What's the truth? How do you know it's the truth? What's the truth? The Russians won or the Americans
Of
won?
course, Russians won, man. How the war wars are now
They both
front.
won.
Well, America assisted in winning the war.
Depends on
In a
what.
big way.
for the
In a
Russians.
big
Depends
way.
on which front.
In a big way.
Do we do a Twitter poll?
Do a Twitter poll.
Yeah, do a
Depends on
Twitter
which
poll.
front. I would argue that the Russians were much more influential on the European front, of course. The British were actually very influential on the African
Most of
front.
the forces,
There's a lot of roles.
most of the German forces
in the
were
Asian frontier.
focused on Russia.
Dunkirk.
20 million people died in Russia from German onslaught. How many Americans invaded? There was no war in the United States.
That's why
there was no war on this except
Honolulu.
Except
That's why America got involved to come help to save the day.
That's what I'm saying. What do you mean to save the day? You assisted with weapons, this and that.
And some would argue that there are conspiracy theorists out there that argue that
that
we knew about Pearl Harbor and allowed it to happen to allow
There's a show
an
I'm
unpopular
watching.
war to get them in.
I'm watching a show made by Oliver Stone on Netflix.
Oh boy,
Okay.
Oliver Stone.
Yeah, and it's actually he says, and in there says the real historians that know what they're doing. Everyone agrees that Russia won the World War II. There's no other way around it. It was the biggest war. Was
Did the Allies or the Axis win World War II?
Well, it depends who is ally, who's Axis.
Who's on the Allies?
Well, the Allies were United States, Russia.
That sounds like a team effort.
Exactly. There you go.
That sounds like a team effort.
Right. Well, it's.
But he says the Russians won the war.
Listen, it's like if you take the majority hit and you the one that's involved in
you know what?
everything, and then you come in.
He's right. Like,
it's
in
like-
reality, we do get more credit than we should for the World War II. He's right.
But if you take a bigger hit, did you really win?
Well, I mean, Russia wouldn't exist if they didn't fight for their own survival.
Exactly, man. People were like, man, 20 million people. Do you understand what it is?
That's
20
it's
million
hard
people.
To be
to
fair, the
fathom.
vast majority of those were due to famine. They weren't war casualties.
It was chaos.
20
It was
million.
chaos.
It's a lot.
That's a lot of bodies. In World War II, how many people
And then
died?
Stalin killed that many people after that,
Yeah,
right?
he did, yeah. Sure, he
Poor
had-
Russians. You had the revolution before that, and
Russia been through so many wars, man. Strong people, man.
the Reds and the Whites, and
It's crazy, man.
Well, Team America,
fuck yeah.
Team World.
Team Jackson Wink. Let's end on that note.
It's funny. People will say this too, and like the question I ask: if you got drafted, would you go fight for the United States in another country? And I'm sorry, I'm going to say no. Like,
I'm an old man.
I'm not going to do it. Like, I love America. There's no place I'd rather live than here. But my life is worth more than a country. I will defend America, but
that's a different
What I
attitude.
don't
but this country
understand
will.
That's a total different attitude than it was in back in the day, though.
No, that's not
war
true.
is a terrible.
Because there's a
thing.
lot of people.
Look at Muhammad Ali.
By
War
you-
is a terrible thing.
It's a
but
terrible
I
thing.
don't believe that when you're 18 years old or 17 years old and something that
You're capable of understanding.
that everyone deserves a right to live. Everyone deserves the same right. Who the fuck are you, as a government or as a politician, or send my child to
Right.
fucking war to die and kill other people?
Yeah.
Who the fuck? Who gave you the right to create
Yeah.
this type of environment?
I'm a
for people?
pacifist. I'm
I want
staunchly
to live.
anti-war myself.
I want to live just like you want to
Yep.
live.
Well, 20 million Russians' parents said go for it.
They didn't have a
They had
choice.
no choice. What are you talking about, man? Mark is the most ridiculous man.
They didn't have
Yeah.
a choice.
It's,
Okay.
it's either they were just scooping them up and throwing them into carts.
If
man.
you
Like,
if Germans right now came to America and you have your son there, you have your family there, okay, and they come in and they slaughtering everyone.
I'm going to
what
call
choi-
Tim. I'm going to
what-
call
what-
Tim Kennedy.
What choice do you have? What choice would you have?
I'm going to start shooting.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Exactly.
So you're going to defend yourself. So
Of
that's what
course.
Russia did at
I-
that point.
I would
But
run away. I'm a runner.
Oh, come.
Russia is big.
Call Tim Kennedy.
How,
They-
do,
no, Russia.
how do I get to New Zealand?
You ever seen Enemy at the Gate? The movie.
Yeah.
Mexico.
Remember? Said if you run back, we shoot you.
Yeah.
It's Battle of Stalingrad.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you couldn't run away.
No. Yeah. Where are you gonna go? They'll shoot you. Yeah. 100%.
Your own people
That's
say,
true.
say,
It's rough.
And
said
if you fought them, they would shoot you there too. It's not like people don't understand
So either way you
the
die.
liberties that you have here, the ability to speak for yourself. Like one time I was in Havana, right? And we didn't lock the doors or anything like that. And we said, well, shouldn't we lock the doors? Isn't there crime? And they go, no, there's no crime here. And think about that. Like, it's not like you get a lawyer and you get to go defend yourself in court. Like,
Yeah.
if you mess up or you cross the government, you kind of just either disappear or you end up in a work camp. That's the vast majority of the
couldn't
history of the world.
I couldn't imagine living in that times, man. And it's funny. It's just
That's not
happened
times.
so
That's
long ago.
now. That's going on in Cuba right now. like
Yeah,
you
but
said.
it's true. But it's not. I mean,
Africa.
that's why they call war. I mean, we're talking about. I mean, pull the statistics up. Just
So-
pull.
so
I want to see how many people died during
Also,
World War II.
think about
It's
the
astronomical number, bro. Astronomical number.
So there
It's-
has not been a war between nuclear power since the use of the
God
atomic
forbid,
weapons.
man. God forbid.
So it's actually created the longest peace period between major powers in the history of the world. Like, we live in the most peaceful time there's ever been, actually.
True.
As much as everybody wants to get worked up, violent crime is the lowest it's ever been.
true.
Childhood
True, true.
literacy is higher than it's ever been. Deaths from communicable diseases are lower than
That's
they've ever
why
been.
I always like drives me nuts when you read these comments
Yes.
and people like
Social
always
media,
always like
find something
complain
to be
about
mad
something.
and upset about.
Always upset about it. I'm like, what are you talking about? People have been dying, killing,
Yep.
and torturing each other from the
For the day we
from
the day we
eternity.
picked up a bow in
For
like Space
eternity.
Odyssey and hit
For
each other over the
eternity.
head with a
This shit will not change.
right.
So,
So
what
be
are you
appreciative.
screaming- Yeah, what are you screaming about?
They're
right.
they're privileged enough to have a voice to be outraged.
Yeah.
Wikipedia.
But, like,
Wikipedia says World War II fatality statistics vary with estimates of total deaths ranging from 50 million to more than 80 million. 80 million deaths, but it also says the higher figure of over 80 million includes deaths from war-related diseases.
Now, look by country. That's actually fascinating to look. Like, probably in World War II casualties, they'll probably break it down because there's. Click on the link.
Break it down.
by country.
Back it up.
Yeah.
Break it up. Break it up.
That will tell you where the war was happening.
He's gonna win this argument.
Of course, I'm going to win.
Nazi. Okay, Nazi
Just
Germany.
slow down. Slow.
Oh, okay, here you go. Albania. Australia. No, it's alphabetical.
So if
That-
you,
that's
if you
what
click
would-
on the
So
arrows,
the,
it'll
the biggest number
it'll
here
sort it
I
for
see. Okay, where's the deaths? Okay,
So see the little arrows right there?
Total deaths is towards the right.
But see the little arrows, it'll sort it for you.
total deaths.
Yeah, go to that arrow.
Yeah.
Gotcha. There we go.
Now the other
Go
one.
in, click again.
There.
Soviet Union. 20 to 27 million, bro. Where's United States?
Keep scrolling. Keep
There,
scrolling.
there they are. They're down here. 419.
Okay.
1,000. Almost 500,000.
Who won the war, son?
They all.
Where
count.
was this war?
The Allies won.
The Allies?
No, fuck
just,
that.
Just like Dr. Beau said.
No, I know.
We
That's why I said assisted. Assistance is one thing. You
Well, it's
know?
interesting because the Soviets weren't interested in freeing Southeast Asia. So
You know when America joined the Eastern Front in 44,
right?
in 44,
It was almost over.
because even in there in every publication, I mean, I was watching all of it. America was even said the president, we're gonna wait and see who wins. If Russia wins, we'll get on the Russian side. If Germany wins, well, we'll see.
Right.
No, come on. They were never going to take the German side.
Come on. They were waiting for the outcome and hoping the Russians would win, so they can join.
You know, our government didn't take a public stance on a side until the Japanese, and the Japanese were already allied with. So as soon as Japan,
what's the second country? China, right?
Because all these wars, right? They have
it's a big number for China.
They have contracts essentially. What do they call them? Armistice deals or whatever. I mean, that's how World War I happened, right? It's Yugoslavia. You had Franz Ferdinand died, and then the Austrians jump in, and the Germans jump in.
I didn't even know China was involved in this.
Of course,
what?
Everyone was involved.
Oh, the Japanese invaded China.
Japanese tortured.
They
Chinese
murdered and
it tells
raped
you how much you know about World War II.
World War II. I get it. I'm being a smart ass. This is the World War. The Netherlands. Look at that.
Every single country was involved in it. It's crazy.
Even Canada.
Of course. Canadian.
Brazil.
Yeah, near the African front as well. But it's interesting because, we didn't take a side in Europe until Japan.
Nepal didn't lose anybody.
So I believe, you'd have to check me on this, but as soon as Japan declared war on America, then Germany did as well, because they were in Italy as well.
I'm surprised they don't have anything for Austria.
What do you mean? They're on top.
In the bottom.
Or they were,
well, that country doesn't exist in the same state anymore.
It was called something. Yeah, it was German controlled. It was Germany. It was part of Germany back then.
I'm surprised that, well, I guess it's part of Germany.
Well, we partitioned a lot of these areas after World War I and II. It's like the Ottoman Empire, right? We chopped that up into pieces and created Israel and Palestine, or not Palestine, excuse me, Israel, Jordan.
What a crazy time to be alive that time, man. Like the Battle of Stalingrad, where they got surrounded, man.
Well, think about how little access you had to information. Most people couldn't read or write, and then if you could, you'd have to read a newspaper or listen to the radio. There was no television, hardly. There was no internet. You couldn't. I mean,
people were eating each other, man. Eating things.
I mean, what if you lived in like rural South Dakota? Like, how much information or access information could you possibly have on what's going on in the world? For one, and two, you wouldn't know what's happening and what isn't happening, and that's why you had all these scares that happened. They didn't know if the Germans were going to come over the horizon tomorrow. They have no internet or ability for somebody to tell them. Can you imagine how scared people were?
Right, but we get scared like this right now too.
The Foo Fighters over L.A. Do you guys know about that? Where there was allegedly alien ships over L.A. and the military shot at them out of the sky. You guys ever heard of that story? They're called the Foo Fighters. That's where the band gets their name from. But there was UFOs over L.A. during World War II, and there was.
They believe in UFO? I don't know.
Probably not.
It's another one of those things. I'm sure if
I've seen weird stuff in the sky, but there's usually an explanation for them.
Yeah, but like the way I see it is like, listen, if there were in there, like
I believe our government has technology that they hide from us. That
conspiracy
it's crazy
theories.
stuff out there.
We lose $10 trillion a year. We just lose it.
I believe if something like that existed, I mean, we would have I would assume made the contact or something. Like there was some kind of like more. I mean, I don't know.
That's the watchmaker's gambit, right?
Yeah, it's one of those.
Where they said, "Where's the watchmaker?" If the watch was made, shouldn't the watchmaker be around as well?
The closing. We're doing. Look, that means the show's over.
That means shut up.
That means our time's up. But anyway, hey, thanks, guys. Thanks for tuning in. We
Dr.
Beau is gangster. Go visit his social media.
Awesome dude that accomplished a lot of great things.
Come see us.
And we're great to have him. It's team.
It's an honor to be part of the team.
Ally.
Dr. Beau
an ally,
at
exactly.
Instagram. Follow him on Instagram, on Twitter. You will not be disappointed.
Yeah.
He's
make sure you're not eating.
And most importantly, if you're having any health problems, stuff like that,
we got you.
In regards to muscles and joints and things
like that.
And
use CBD. Use CBD.
He can actually
instead of
cure headaches, right?
Yeah.
Even headaches.
Yep.
He's cured my headache, or Chad did one time. Of course, then Dr. Beau said it was just something else. But anyway.
Okie dokie. So
thanks for tuning in, guys.
Thank you.
We got many different ways to watch us on Twitter, on Google Play,
YouTube,
Apple Play,
all the plays.
Yeah.
So, tune in, watch us.
Come train with us.
You just never know what you're going to see on the show.
Come train with us.
Don't be scared, homie.
You never know who's the next John Jones who walks through the doors.
That's right. Go to the website, www.jacksonwink.com. Thanks,
Peace
guys.
out.
See you next time.
Yo, bye.
Through these doors walk the greatest fighters in the world.